My name is Allie, and I'm the STEM Program Manager for Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails. It's my job to bring STEM programs to girls all around the state of New Mexico. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And our STEM topic today is 3D printing. 3D printing is the process of creating a physical object using a three-dimensional CAD model. CAD stands for Computer-Aided Design, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. 3D printing is most often used as a form of rapid prototyping. And that's just a fancy way of saying that designers, entrepreneurs, and engineers use 3D printing to create a first draft and test it before creating a final product.
3D printing is an additive process. This means the 3D printer starts with nothing and adds material until it completes a desired shape. Different kinds of 3D printers use different kinds of additive processes, but the most common for hobby printers like this one is called FDM, Fused Deposition Modeling. This is a process where plastic material called filament is heated until it melts into a liquid. The liquid plastic is then laid down in very thin layers, one after another, building up until they create an object.
To better explain this process, I'm going to show you how each part of the 3D printer works and how they work together to create a three-dimensional object.
This is the filament. Filament is a material that is fed through the printer, melted, and laid in layers to build an object. Most 3D printers use plastic filament, but some specialized printers can print with wood, ceramic, metal, and more. This is the extruder, the part of the 3D printer made up of a motor, bearing, and gear that pulls and feeds the filament into the hot end of the printer. This is the hot end part of the 3D printer. This part is made up of a heater, a temperature sensor, and an extrusion tip that work together to heat the filament and deposit the molten material in thin layers onto the bed. This is the bed of the 3D printer, a flat part where the material can build. Inside of a 3D printer, there are 3 stepper motors that work together to move the hot end of the 3D printer. The first motor moves on the x-axis from side to side. The second motor moves on the y-axis, forward and backward, and the third motor moves on the z-axis, up and down. Once the X and Y motors have worked together to build the first layer of a 3D print, the Z motor will move the hot end up just enough to build another layer on top of the first one. This process will continue until all of the layers are completed. This is the fan. The fan helps to immediately cool the melted filament and solidify each layer. Inside of the 3D printer, there is a computer or a brain known as the controller. This is the part that tells each of the motors and the hot end what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. Similar to your computer at home, this controller has a screen. 3D printed objects start with a few flat solid layers to create the bottom of the object. They then build up the walls layer by layer. But in order to keep the structure and keep the object from collapsing, 3D prints also have something called infill, which are structural beams inside the 3D printed object. You can select how much infill you want to make the object more hollow or more solid. The amount of infill you choose will determine the shape of the infill.
Now that you know how 3D printers work, you might be wondering how they know what to print. And that brings me back to three-dimensional CAD models. Remember, CAD stands for Computer-Aided Design. And there are lots of different ways that we can use CAD to create 3D models.
You can use 3D modeling and design programs to create your own models from scratch. Or you can download objects other people have created. Once you have a 3D model and you're ready to print, you can save it as a special file type that slices the model into layers. That way, the 3D printer controller knows exactly what each motor needs to do to create each layer of the print one by one.
Now that you've learned all about 3D printing, have an adult help you follow the link below to tinkercad.com, where you can create your own three-dimensional CAD models. I hope you enjoyed this video on 3D printing, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Thanks, Girl Scouts.